From an upcoming countdown sale for my new book on the horizon, to my recent experience listening to a 100-year-old Navy vet who's still unflappable, this week's podcast goes where few other of my podcasts have gone before. There are plenty of things to update you about for what's happening with my new book, The Very Fine Light, and this is to announce an upcoming one-week price discount in order to help readers whose piggy banks were drained a bit due to their sometimes overgenerous holiday gift giving. As many authors know, there are several disadvantages to distributing with exclusive contracts for an ebook format. However, one of the major benefits in the way I'm currently doing it is an author's ability to run a temporary price reduction in order to help make the book even more affordable to those post-holiday readers. So why not let a friend or coworker know about this upcoming offer? Just go to my website at nikossteves.com and sign up to get on the mailing list, because this will put you, as a mailing list subscriber, at the front line for getting the details all about this. Mailing list subscribers are going to receive the very first issue of my debut newsletter, and the details of the countdown sale can be found there before it goes to the general public. And also, once you've read the book, please go and comment or simply rate it, 5 stars being best, at Amazon.com. This is a huge help. Thank you in advance for your support. And now for part 2 of this week's installment. As I mentioned earlier, this podcast is going where few other of my podcasts have gone. The story does not tell of an apparition of the Virgin Mary or a saint's story, but rather a report following a different sort of amazing event. I recently attended a luncheon with a very special speaker. The speaker was a veteran, Bill Norberg, who spent World War II on the USS Enterprise, and Bill is now 100 years old. Yes, 100 years old, and he was an eyewitness to the devastation following the attack in December 1941 on Pearl Harbor, when his ship, the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, sailed into Pearl Harbor the day after the attack. That story is his to tell. My report here focuses on what happened during his lecture. It made the luncheon even more unique. In and of itself, just to see a 100-year-old person out and about is noteworthy. Bill Norberg, our keynote speaker, was well prepared, and he mostly focused on his recollection of the USS Enterprise's involvement in the Battle of Midway Island and how important that battle was during America's very fragile war effort. Before the event started, Bill shook hands and shared stories with the other handful of World War II veterans also in attendance. The luncheon was hosted by the Atlanta World War II Roundtable. I did not count, but there must have been about 150 veterans and others in the audience. The venue was a very nice church hall that included a stage and large cafeteria-style serving area. I mention this to give you a sense of the scale for the room, to give a bit of perspective, to help you visualize what also occurred during Bill's talk. Bill's lecture included pictures, maps, and illustrations that supported the details of the battle. Bill referred to a script, and that is how this talk began. So far, the remarkable aspect of this story is to note that the speaker offered his unique eyewitness account live and in person in the year 2023. This 100-year-old gentleman, he kept us all spellbound until something else happened to us in the room. The cavernous room suddenly became alive with strobe lights flashing. The electrical sounds of a warning siren began wailing, plus a computerized voice saying something like, "This is a fire emergency. Please leave the building." And so we began to exit the room as the cycle of warnings repeated in a constant loop. First the siren would blast its warning. Then the strobe lights flashed, followed by the computerized voice issuing the exit warning. But then it would be followed by dead silence. And just as it seemed like the alarm had ended, it repeated the same cycle once again, and on it went. Before the room was cleared, We learned perhaps it had been a false alarm. Maybe someone opened a security door or something. We were quickly assured all clear, and it was okay to return to our seats, which everyone did. Just one thing, however. This warning loop of siren, then flashing lights, then computer voice, with a pause, then again, kept continuing, on and on, so we waited, hoping it would soon stop. As we sat there, probably 10 minutes, waiting for it to stop, Bill Norbert, for his part, sat down rather than continue standing at the dais. And then we heard that Bill wanted to continue, and he felt that he could talk over the distraction, which he did with one humorous remark before he continued. He said, "I told myself this would be my last lecture, and now I know why." And so Bill went on. The only change is he continued sitting in the chair rather than stand. So there he was, his lecture notes in one hand, a handheld microphone in his other. With that hand, he would also change the slides on the screen. In and of itself, witnessing this 100-year-old gentleman speak over all the siren and emergency commotions was impressive and remarkable. Bill was unwavering and trooped on during the unnerving interruptions of the siren blaring, the strobe lights flashing, and the computerized voice warning to leave the building, going off all around the room. And there was Bill Norbert, unwavering and unflappable, telling heart-wrenching tales of fallen friends and the pressure during battles. When the alarm bell and warning finally stopped, I'm not sure at this point, maybe 15 minutes into his continued conversation, Bill seemed non-pulsed and continued to the end of his lecture. And then he asked and answered questions. My takeaway after I left the lecture hall is that this World War II Navy veteran, Bill Norberg, is still a very remarkable person. To think that he had been just 19 years old when he found himself on the bridge of the USS Enterprise and in the nerve center of that ship during all the danger of the many, many battles they fought throughout the war years, because the USS Enterprise was World War II's most decorated ship of the war. The litany of battles the USS Enterprise went through is astonishing, and there's a short video on my website, nicosteves.com, that lists those battles just before Bill spoke. And for a battle-hardened vet from that time back over 75 years ago, now, today, at the age of 100, not only does Bill Norbert remind us of what happened then and how vulnerable and weak our country had been in those early war years, Bill at age 100 is still able to maintain focus and perform his duties through the chaos of blaring sirens and the unnerving flashing of strobe lights in his eyes and the warning shouts, undeterred and determined to fulfill his day's assignment. Bill Norbert delivered once again. Once the fire alarms ended and Bill continued for another 20 minutes within the room of approximately 150 souls, only Bill's voice could be heard. He had us all spellbound. My hat's off to Bill Norberg, and I thank him for his lifetime of service to our country. Of course, no surprise, this fine man ended the lecture with these words, "God bless America." This is Nico Steves. I hope you enjoyed this installment. My book can be found using the title, The Very Fine Light, on Amazon.com. Please feel free to contact me at nicosteves.com. That's Nikos Steves, Steves.com. If you like this episode, and for more, share them with friends. This is Nico Steves. Thank you. See you next time.